Jane Snow and her two sons were moving to Escanaba in the Upper Peninsula of Michigan from their home in Grand Rapids, Michigan. During an 8-hour drive, Jane had an unfortunate demise that would cut the wonderful lady's life short and leave the boys motherless. To this day, no one is really sure what happened, and the mystery still remains unsolved. This is the case of Jane Snow. 31-year-old Jane Snow was a nurse at Mary Free Bed in Grand Rapids, Michigan. She had wanted to move due to the rise of crime in her neighborhood. After a recent divorce with her husband, she found the right time to get a new career and move her two sons to Escanaba, where she originally was from. Around 3 p.m. on May 15, 1979, Jane, her two sons, Eric, age 9, and Mark, age 8, the family dog, and the cat, loaded up in the car and began to travel to their new life in Escanaba. Around 7:30 p.m., Jane pulled into the Loon Lake rest stop on I-75, northbound, where her and her two sons went into the rest stop to use the restroom. She walked in the ladies' restroom, while Mark and Eric went to the men's bathroom. The boys came out shortly after and decided to go down with a dog by Loon Lake to look around. After some time had passed and their mother still not come out of the bathroom, the two boys went back to the rest stop. After entering the rest stop, the two boys walked into the woman's bathroom to find their mom lying on the floor in a pool of her own blood. In a panic, the boys ran to the payphone in an attempt to call for help, but the payphone was not working. They ran to the highway and eventually flagged the vehicle down for help. During the investigation, Jane Snow's body was examined and had been stabbed 23 times in the chest, back, and on both arms and legs. Her wrist appeared to have been broken as well. There was no sign of sexual assault, and the contents of her purse were untouched. Whoever committed the crime had no intent on raping or robbing Mrs. Snow. As the investigation continued, the police could not find any evidence of anyone else on the scene. There were no other cars in the parking lot besides the Snow's 1974 Dodge vehicle, and there was no visible sign of exit by the assailant. It is as if the assailant had disappeared in thin air. With such a disturbing case in a small town, people were desperate to look for the culprit. Who would have killed the innocent Jane Snow? Over the years, there has been a few theories on who it could have been. One of the theories many sleuths have theorized is that Jane Snow may have stumbled upon a homeless hitchhiker in a woman's bathroom. She may have startled the person into a frenzy, and the person fled the scene shortly after murdering her. However, this theory does not hold up due to the fact that there was no evidence and that there was no reports that night about a homeless person seeking shelter in the rest stop. Serial killer Ronald Glenn West was also purported to have possibly been the killer. However, all the murders linked to him happened 3 hours away in Canada, and the tactic used in the murder was not his style. He would shoot his victims with a .22 caliber handgun as opposed to stabbing. On the night of the murder, a hitchhiker was walking down I-75 southbound, eventually being picked up by a patrol car less than a mile away from the Loon Lake rest area. He was wearing a blood-stained shirt and there were minor cuts on his hands. The connections were made between the hitchhiker and the murder. A day later, the hitchhiker was located in Pontiac, Michigan and brought in for questioning. Enter John McGauley. John McGauley had troubled past with law enforcement, having been called on several times by neighbors for domestic violence against his wife. On the night of the murder, John was in Indian River, a few miles north of Gaylord, drinking at a bar with his wife. On their way home, his wife claimed that John became angry and threw a beer bottle against the windshield, shattering the bottle. His wife then stopped on the side of the road and kicked him out. After hiking for a bit, he was eventually picked up by the patrol car and dropped off at the nearest exit. The following day, when McGauley was brought into questioning, he denied being picked up by the patrol car until the police officer walked in. He seemed to not be telling the truth about his whereabouts on that day, but the largest concern was the bloodstains on the shirt he was wearing when he was picked up. The blood on his shirt did not match up with Jane Snow's. It turned out to be his own. Several other tips have been given to investigators, but all were disproven. It seemed, however, unlikely that John McGauley coincidentally happened to be walking in the proximity of the rest area when the murder took place. It looked as if he was out of the picture for investigation. However, he was wanted in Rhode Island for check fraud and was soon extradited over. While serving time there, his cellmate claimed that McGauley confessed to the murder of Jane Snow. He said that McGauley claimed he had the intentions of robbing Jane for her car, but when she resisted, he stabbed her. In the panic of what just happened, he ran to the highway and started to walk away from the murder scene. There are some details that do not line up with his claim. Why wasn't McGauley sweaty and covered with blood after the brutal murder of Snow? Why was he calm and collective when the patrol car picked him up? Why would he have started to walk down a busy interstate after murdering somebody? On January 2017, John McGully was released on parole, but subsequently died in September of that same year to a suspected overdose. The cellmate who holds the claim was released, and there seems to be no evidence of his whereabouts. Who was the killer, Jane Snow? We may never be certain with any more evidence. If you have any information that could help resolve this case and place a person responsible behind bars, please contact the Gaylord Police Office. For now, this case remains unsolved.